Hi everyone, my name is Richard, but I go by Rick, and today I'd like to talk to you guys about something that I personally think that we, as individuals, overly simplify a bit too much,
at the expense of the sense of magic and wonder of our reality. That phenomena is physics. Take, for example, colors, which is the topic of this video. We visualize colors on a day-by-day basis, and we don't think much about it. The leaves on a tree are green, the apple which dangles on the branches is red, and the wood itself is brownish. We can all observe that, but we never ask questions why or how. Why is that apple red? And how can we, as observers, receive and interpret that information and make sense of it? And what happens with people that suffer color blindness, for example? Are they viewing a false reality? Well, I believe that the reason we don't think about it is because we instantly assume that it's either difficult to explain, too difficult to understand, or it's just the way it is and we don't give it much thought.
You're right to assume that science is the answer to these questions.
And I'd be lying if I said that science can't be stressful, or boring, or monotonous, but that's the more reason why I wanted to make this video. To show that science can blow your mind far more than anything else. We just need to understand the principles at play, and the more we do, the more mind-blowing our reality comes. That's my purpose here. Not to teach you guys physics or chemistry, mostly because you guys would run in the opposite direction, but to instead talk about mind-blowing occurrences, and hopefully blow your mind with a couple of fun facts that will awaken a newfound interest, just like certain professors did to me. So without further ado, let us discuss this video's topic, which is colors. We all know what colors are. We know blue, green, gray, black, red, yellow, and the combination that's obtained when you mix these. First, I'll have to talk about perception, specifically our human perception. We humans are creatures that evolved in several ways to make sense of the external input, meaning we have developed our senses to interact with our reality, like touch, to be able to make out when something is physically touching us, or hearing, which allows us to interpret pressure changes, its wavelength and frequency, as long as there's a medium to be shifted, like air for example, and then that wave reaches our ears.
We'll talk about this in another video.
Sight is used in a similar manner, but to receive and interpret only photon-based wavelengths.
Which is a fancy term for light.
Yes, just like hearing, our sight functions with waves. But unlike hearing, where pressure oscillations are detected, sight detects the electromagnetic spectrum, specifically the range between 400 to 700 nanometers. Compare that to the visible spectrum of bees, birds, certain squids, or even the mantis shrimp, and you can see that each animal adapted their eyesight out of their unique necessities. Wait a minute. What is that thing on the screen? Is that thing real? Well, I guess if you live in the bottom of the sea, you don't really need looks, huh? Still, I feel bad for the poor ugly thing. Let's try and give it a makeover, shall we? There. That's, let's say, better. So with that in mind, we can observe which is the frequency of any given color that our eyes can detect, and sort of predict how other animals perceive the world through sight. All of these different mutations in every different animal came to be because every different animal has to adapt to its environment to be the most efficient possible. In other words, it's evolution at its finest.
Isn't that magical? That's so unique. It's so unique to each and every one of our evolved adaptations.
We humans only have 3 cones in our eyes, and these cones are meant to detect electromagnetic wavelengths of color specifically. We have one around the 420 nanometer mark, which is the blue cone. We have another around the 530 nanometer mark, which is the green cone. And we have the last one around 560 nanometers, which is the red cone. With these 3 cones, our brain can interpret our human visual spectrum by juxtaposing the wavelengths together to form other colors. Very similar to how color theory works, where you mix primary colors to make all the palette of the rainbow. And this is the universal norm, with exception of people with color blindness, which lack the proper functionality of any of the 3 cones, and will affect how they perceive the visible spectrum. Quick interesting bonus fact. Men are more prone to color blindness, specifically blind to the red and green wavelengths, and this is because the X chromosome is the one that creates the proteins required for these cones, and men only have one of those. So, if our X chromosome is damaged, we don't have a backup like the females. So, if damaged, then our DNA cannot create the required proteins for the green and red cones to function properly. Okay, well, let's recapitulate here. So far, we've only talked about the way in which we interpret the electromagnetic spectrum in our brain through our eyes. But what would you say if I told you that matter is lying to us?
Kind of. Let me explain.
You see, we can see color in matter all around us. Every object will tell you its color simply by having light, which we usually call white light, bounce off it and hit our eyes. But here's the deceit of matter. In reality, the wavelength we are seeing is only being detected by us because matter bounced it off, meaning it absorbed the other wavelengths and only reflected the one whose color we saw. So in reality, what color is the red apple? Is it truly red? Or is it every other color but red? One could assume that the wavelengths that the object absorbs is the object's actual color, being in actuality every color but the one we see bounce off. Reality is not so simple, however. There's still more to this. Get ready, because I'm about to blow your mind. What if I told you that color is but an illusion? In reality, nothing is truly any color, but rather, every piece of matter has a given electron wave. It is the very electron wave that can interact with white light, absorbing waves with different frequencies and wavelengths to its own. So yes, the apple has a natural frequency that repels red, meaning that that object is technically red. But as I prefer to look at it, there's no real color at all. It's not until that electron orbiting the atom gets to interact with white light, which then bounces off a specific wave back and reaches our eyes, which then gets decoded by our brains and transforms the physical wave into a color. So what is color exactly? Well, the way I see it, it's a beautiful illusion. One that makes the world so much more pleasurable to be in, and yet it's all created in our mind. Interesting, isn't it? Well, that's all for this video, guys.
I'd love to hear your thoughts, so please leave a comment down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Hopefully you like this one. Bye.
Hi everyone, it's Rick. Did you enjoy the video? if you have any tips for the next one, go ahead and leave them in the comments also. I apologize for the quality of this one. I know that it wasn't the best, but since it's my first time editing, I think it went decent enough, all things considered. Thank you so much, guys, for sticking till the end, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.